Hello, this is Dr. Grande. Today I'll be analyzing the case of Ashton Sachs. I'll start with the background of this case, move to the timeline of the crime, then offer my analysis. Ashton Colby Sachs was born on April 20, 1994, and lived in the state of California. His father, Brat, was a surfing champion, and his mother, Andra, was a real estate investor. Ashton's parents were exceptionally wealthy. Eventually, they would be worth almost $80 million. The history of the relationship between Ashton and his mother is important to the story, so I will cover it here. Ashton's mother, Andra, was a very shrewd businesswoman, but she had a humble beginning. She started her career delivering potato chips to retail stores. Later, she earned a degree in business and worked for a company that sold integrated circuits. In 1994, she founded her own company selling semiconductors. Andra was able to secure government contracts using her minority status. She was Jewish and a woman. She even called her business Minority Electronics. One time when she was at a computer trade show, she met a man named Brat Sachs, and they became romantically involved. The couple married in 1991. They lived in Pacific Palisades and ran several businesses, including a telemarketing company. The couple would go on to have 4 children, Miles, Ashton, Alexis, and Sabrina. Andra and Brad continued to grow their business empire. In 1998, they acquired an internet DSL service called Flashcom and obtained $15 million in venture capital. The family moved into a 5,400 square foot waterfront house in Huntington Beach. On April 28, 1999, an unexpected disaster struck the family. Brad was out of town and Andra was at work. She left Alexis and Sabrina with a 28-year-old Spanish-speaking babysitter named Lorena. At about 10 a.m., Lorena noticed that 2-year-old Alexis was outside on the deck near the hot tub. She grabbed 16-month-old Sabrina from a high chair and went to retrieve the older sister. According to Lorena, Alexis was kicking, wiggling, and fussing and knocked Sabrina into the hot tub. Instead of simply pulling Sabrina out of the hot tub, Lorena contacted her husband, who was upstairs in the same house. He pulled Sabrina out of the hot tub as Lorena called 911. Unfortunately, the operator didn't speak Spanish, and this delayed the emergency response. First responders took Sabrina to Huntington Beach Hospital, where she was pronounced dead. The family was understandably devastated. Brad blamed his wife and filed for divorce. He called her mentally unbalanced, manic, unpredictable, and incapable of rational thought. Andra wasn't too happy with Brad either. She said he was neglectful and only interested in golf, surfing, playing the drums, and business. She was worried because nobody in the house had been treated by a mental health counselor, even though Sabrina's death caused trauma for all of them. In September 1999, Brad fired Andra from Flashcom because she had an anger problem and would fly into rages. When the divorce finalized, Brad received $800,000. Andra received $9 million from Flashcom. The company could not survive this massive loss and went bankrupt less than a year later. Brad and Andra had shocked people with how acrimonious their divorce was. They went from being a loving couple to hating each other. One thing was for sure: they were never going to reconcile. In March 2000, the couple reconciled. They did not remarry, but they considered themselves lovers again. In 2007, searching for a replacement for her dead daughter Sabrina, Andra traveled to Russia and adopted a little girl named Lana. She didn't plan on adopting anyone else, but she decided to adopt the girl's brother, Landon, as well. So now Ashton had 4 siblings: Miles, Alexis, Lana, and Landon. In March 2009, the family moved into an 8,700 square foot, 6-bedroom, 3-story hillside mansion at 32265 Pepper Tree Bend in San Juan Capistrano. They paid $2.5 million for the Orange County house, which had been repossessed by a bank 7 months earlier. At the time I'm making this video, the home is worth over $6 million. In the fall of 2013, Andra sent Ashton to Seattle, Washington to attend a community college. She purchased him a $233,000 condominium and a white Toyota Prius. Ashton's brother Miles attended a four-year college in the same state. Brad and Andra continued to live in the mansion along with Alexis, Lana, and Landon. Ashton did not adjust well to community college. He dropped out and spent his time smoking marijuana and playing video games like League of Legends and World of Warcraft. Now moving to the timeline of the crime. On February 9, 2014, at about 2 a.m., Ashton's sister Lana called 911 after being directed to do so by her sister Alexis. Gunshots had been heard in the mansion on Pepper Tree Bend. Here is what the police found during the course of their investigation. A gunman had entered the mansion and opened fire, striking three of the family members. 57-year-old Brad and 54-year-old Andra had been shot dead. Between them, they had been struck 22 times. 8-year-old Landon had been shot once. He was paralyzed from the chest down. 17-year-old Alexis had been shot at one time, but was not struck. 15-year-old Lana had not been attacked. The firearm that was used was chambered in .22 long rifle, but no weapon was recovered. None of the surviving victims were able to identify the perpetrator. Surveillance cameras captured a white Toyota Prius driving toward the mansion before the shooting and driving away quickly after the shooting. Eventually, the police learned that Ashton had a white Toyota Prius. He had contacted an automobile transportation company to pick up the car in San Juan Capistrano and deliver it to Seattle, Washington. The police found it in Seattle and searched it. In the trunk, they found a Ruger .22 caliber rifle. It was the murder weapon. Phone records indicated that Ashton's phone was in the area of his parents' mansion at around the time of the shooting. The police confronted Ashton on March 6, 2014. He initially denied being the killer, but then he admitted that he did it. Here is the story he supplied to the police. On February 8, 2014, Ashton drove his Toyota Prius 20 hours from Seattle to San Juan Capistrano. He parked for a few hours at a commercial building his mother owned. He then drove to the mansion, climbed over the wall, and made entry through an unlocked door at about 1:30 a.m. He went upstairs and paced back and forth for 15 minutes, trying to figure out what he should do. After this, he conducted the shooting and drove his Toyota back to the commercial building. He took a taxi to the John Wayne Airport and boarded a flight to Seattle. To conceal his movements, Ashton had an automobile transportation company pick up the Toyota. Ashton was arrested and charged with 2 counts of murder and 2 counts of attempted murder. On September 20, 2016, after firing his attorney, Ashton surprised the court by pleading guilty. He received 2 life sentences without the possibility of parole, plus another 100 years for using a firearm in the crime. Now moving to my analysis. Here are my thoughts on a few areas that stood out to me in this case. Item number 1. Prior to pleading guilty for the murders, Ashton did not have a criminal record. He was described as hyperactive, attention-seeking, sadistic, a troublemaker who loved to play pranks, possessing a warped sense of humor, unable to tolerate the word no, and possessing 0 frustration tolerance. One time he was caught in school with a knife, and he was known to shoot birds. In the summer of 2013, after breaking up with his girlfriend, Ashton consumed an excessive quantity of pills in an effort to bring an end to his own life. Item number 2. It seems clear that the primary contentious relationship in Ashton's life was the one with his mother. Let's take a closer look at Andra. When she was a teenager, her family ran into temporary financial problems when they lived in San Diego. They were selling one house and trying to buy another. This left them short on money. The family had trouble putting food on the table for about a week. This experience had a profound impact on Andra. She told her friends that this would never happen to her. She would never allow herself to be short on money. Andra was described by many people as well-intentioned and a loving mother, but even some of her supporters criticized her. People said that she was masculine, aggressive, intimidating, unscrupulous, ruthless, cruel, a soulless jackal, and an insensitive witch. Standing at 5'11", she was as imposing as Xena, warrior princess. Again, some of these descriptions came from people who liked her. Andra went from potato chips to computer chips to having a chip on her shoulder. Throughout her career, she developed a creative money management strategy to hide her assets from people she perceived as being after her money. There's a sense that she was a little bit paranoid about this. Most of her assets were held by corporate entities, and nothing was in Brad's name. Andra stated that she refused to share any of her money with a man. She demanded absolute control of everything at all times. There's a long history of disputes between Andra and her tenants, the government, and business associates. Not long before her death, she suffered a string of defeats. The state of California was trying to collect $688,000 she owed in taxes. The bankruptcy estate from Flashcom, the company that she had purchased with Brad a long time ago, was looking for their $9 million back. And Andra was in a potentially costly dispute involving a company she owned in Baja California. 2 weeks before she was murdered, Andra made arrangements to downsize by selling the mansion and purchasing a $1 million waterfront house in Coronado. This house was a mere 2,100 square feet. Still a big place, but compared to what she was used to, it was a significant step down. On top of all these financial stressors, Brad had been diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, and his functioning was decaying rapidly. Item number 3, communication between Ashton and his mother indicates their relationship was disintegrating in the time leading up to the murders. In August 2013, Andra wrote a text message to Ashton. "You're very ungrateful to a wonderful mother. I really don't owe you anything. You need to grow up." In October, she hinted at possible financial problems when she wrote, "We have deposited money in your bank account, but please spend it slowly." In November, Andra asked her son to stop playing video games as much. In response, he complained about being asked to get a part-time job and referred to his brother Miles as his mother's little pet. 2 days before the murders, Andra complained to Ashton that he forgot his father's 57th birthday. Ashton responded, "I forgot his birthday just as much as he forgot he has a son." Item number 4. The primary mystery in this case is Ashton's motive. Here's what I think happened in this case. This is just a theory, my opinion. Ashton was self-centered, impulsive, attention-seeking, sadistic, cold, callous, lazy, hedonistic, materialistic, manipulative, deceptive, charismatic, had a sense of entitlement, and was exceedingly creepy. Before he dropped out of college, he had written a paper about the Menendez brothers case. This was a case of 2 brothers in Beverly Hills who killed their wealthy parents with shotguns in 1989. Many people believe they had a financial motive for the crime because they went on a spending spree after the murders. Ashton seemed to be extremely excited about this case. He received an A on the paper he wrote about it. Perhaps this paper was assigned in some type of criminal justice class. Whatever its origin, Ashton interpreted the assignment more as a career planning exercise than a learning experience. Andra was an unforgiving and dominant mother. She was tired of Ashton's laziness and excessive video game playing. It would have been very upsetting to her if she learned he dropped out of college. Ashton did not want to have this confrontation, and he had a lot of resentment toward his parents. He decided to kill them and planned the murders about 4 or 5 days in advance. Hoping to have some chance of being released from prison if he was caught, he read internet articles on felony murder, the insanity defense, and parole. After killing his parents, he shot his brother and shot at his sister, perhaps simply to cause more pain. Prior to being a suspect, Ashton spent time with his brother Landon in the hospital, and he attended his parents' funeral. He even spoke at the funeral, saying that his parents were amazing and perfect. His mother was his hero. After he confessed, the police asked Ashton why he did it. He said, "I don't have a reason why, just a lot of problems." When asked what he was thinking during the crime, Ashton said, "I was like not myself. I was something twisted." Ashton blamed his parents for feelings of depression and his messed up life. He believed they didn't take him seriously when he overdosed on pills. And he complained that he was the least favorite child in the family. In the end, I think this was a case of unrestrained resentment. His lack of empathy and high level of sadism allowed Ashton's hatred to be expressed without restrictions. He did not think of his parents as human beings and enjoyed the idea of them suffering. Even now, he may take some pleasure in knowing his parents paid the ultimate price for whatever he believed they did wrong. When I was conducting my research on this case, I read a lot of court documents that really didn't relate closely to what Ashton did. Like I read documents that talked about the dispute that Andra had with Flashcom, the $9 million and all that stuff. She had a lot of complaints filed against her by various people, like tenants. Andra was not a popular person. She seemed to gravitate toward almost like cheating people out of things. She was a top tax avoider in California. She was even on a list of top tax avoiders. So she was not a popular person. A lot of people felt that Andra and Brat were simply dishonest. They weren't good people. They had been accused of cheating people out of money many, many times. It seemed like an endless supply of complaints. Andra's relationship with money is pretty interesting. At times, she appeared to be miserly, like she was careful how much she spent. But at other times, she seemed like she really didn't care, like she bought a mansion, she bought Ashton a condominium and a car. She was also involved in many conflicts which were unnecessary. She could have avoided most, if not all, of these disputes. A lot of these were caused because she didn't pay somebody money that was owed, or at least they believed the money was owed. It's almost like her fear of not having money that started when she was a teenager did not translate into efficient money management. There was a disconnect between the fear and her ultimate expression of the fear. This makes me wonder if Andra could have had something like obsessive-compulsive personality features. Maybe she even had the disorder, OCPD. I don't know. This disorder is a personality disorder. It's different than OCD, obsessive-compulsive disorder. They are separate classifications. There is a lot of comorbidity, so it's common if a person has OCPD that they would have OCD, like a lot of people have both, but they are, again, separate. They're separate disorders. With OCPD, we see a person who is preoccupied with rules, perfectionistic, excessively devoted to productivity, inflexible. They refuse to delegate tasks. They have a miserly spending style, and they tend to be rigid and stubborn. Andra may have viewed herself as being high in the trait conscientiousness, like she was self-disciplined, competent, and responsible. But in reality, she may not have been. OCPD is positively associated with just one of the facets of conscientiousness, achievement striving. So this would explain how Andra was able to accomplish a lot, but she was also having a lot of other problems that normally somebody with high conscientiousness would not have. As far as the other traits from the five-factor model, OCPD has no relationship with openness to experience. It is associated with low extroversion, low agreeableness, and high neuroticism, especially anger. There is an aggressive subtype of this disorder that is characterized by vindictive, hostile, and dominant behavior. People with this subtype are always getting into arguments. There is no way to know if Andra had OCPD or if she had it with this subtype. But this disorder explains a lot of her behavior, including the way she dealt with money. Maybe she simply had obsessive-compulsive personality features, as I mentioned before. So she may not have qualified for the disorder, but she had a lot of the characteristics of this personality construct. She appeared to have high conscientiousness, but she really didn't. So it's an interesting case, her relationship with money. I've seen this many times before, right, where a person has a fear early in their life. In this case, Andra was afraid of not having money, but it can be any fear. And the reaction that they have to try to fix the fear, to try to address the fear, ends up being destructive. In a way, it can end up causing the fear to come true, like the thing that the person's afraid of will happen because their behavior creates it, right? Andra created financial problems for herself. Now, as it turns out, even with their problems, she was way ahead. When she died, she was still worth a lot of money. But just this tendency she had where she destroyed her own assets through her behavior does kind of fit with this idea that sometimes fear causes behavior that creates more of what the person is afraid of.